Okay, I am live here and I am doing something different than I've done before because I am going live with LinkedIn, Facebook, and TikTok all at the same time. So I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know how it's going to go, but we'll see how it goes. Oh, so if I have this here, I can't see the chat over here. So if I can go over here. Here. Wait a minute. Go back to TikTok. Okay. We're gonna see how this is gonna go. I okay. So I am here and I am on Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And we're going to talk about how to stop negativity because we live in a world where there is so much negativity and it is hard to, hi, Miss Joyce, you pop by. It's hard to really have the opportunity to live in a stress-free world unless you really make a conscious effort. I just got through talking to a client and we were talking about some of the things that I'm going to be talking about today. So, hi, Anita. How are you? Anita is our moderator, and it's really interesting because she always reminds me to take my time because I get kind of frazzled or whatever. But anyway, so I am doing this live, and this live is going to be on LinkedIn as well. On LinkedIn, I really have, I think I have about 27,000 followers, but the lives aren't really that well attended. So I just thought I would just do this because, we've been talking a lot about the brain lately, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it. Anita, how has it been? What do you think? We've been the topic we've been talking about the brain and how we think and things like that. Have you gotten value out of what the conversations we've been having about how we think and why our brains tend to go the opposite direction that we wanted to? So I wanted to continue that conversation today and talk a little bit about why we are predisposed. Thank you. Why we are predisposed to thinking things that we don't want to think. The first thing is that we don't want to think well of ourselves or think too much of ourselves. Most of us, because we may come from backgrounds, and especially the question, "Hi, Lisa, how are you?" The question is, who do you think you are? Who has heard that? Has any one of you had friends or family or someone that have said, "Who do you think you are?" Like, are you too big? Or another one was, "Are you too big for your britches?" Has anyone ever heard that? Lisa, I'm glad you're here. Has anyone heard that? Anyone had someone say that to you? Has anyone tried to tell you that you might think too much of yourself? Now, when you think about that, why would someone not want you to think highly of yourself? But the problem is, if we don't think highly of ourselves, and we're looking for other people to give us praise, to think highly of ourselves, we're in trouble. Lisa, you've never had anyone say that to you? So, we talk about sometimes our best friend is not ourselves. And if we're not our best friends, then who's going to be our best friend? If we don't think well of ourselves, if we don't think highly of ourselves, then, and you're looking for others to give you validation, then that's going to be a problem. So let's just kind of go back to, a little bit about, you know, the world we live in. I mean, when I go to the movies, I mean, Greg, my fiance, and I will go to the movies, and most of the movies I wouldn't go see because they're too violent for me, or they're, it's and people pay for that. Do you know that people who write movies and people who write the news, they know that you will pay, or you will pay more attention to things that make you feel upset. So the more they can have you upset, the more you're going to watch the news. The more you could be upset or feel, like this in the movie, the more people are going to be in the movie. So what does that tell us about ourselves? That we are attracted, kind of like a moth to the flame. Like, well, make me upset, make me feel, on edge. And why do you think that is? Our brain loves that. And our bodies, our hearts, I could go to a movie and I don't have a good tolerance for violence. And, when I got with Greg, my fiance, like that's what he watches. Like we were dating. So when we first started dating, we would look at chick flicks. Because I like let's feel good or whatever. But he likes to shoot 'em up. We call them shoot 'em ups. And he likes shoot 'em ups. And I literally see him jumping, while he's watching the movie. So can you imagine the kind of adrenaline we have just watching the movies, just watching the news? I just got through looking at something that said a mother, her son shot her. She's in the hospital. He has something to do, I think, with either the football league. But negative news, negativity in our feed, gets a lot more clicks than good news. So it's not that they're trying to make us unhappy. It's just like, this is what sells, is keeping you upset. So the psychiatrists or psychologists call this negative bias. And so, we feel that, but I'm not interested really in that. I'm interested more about you and how you feel about you and how you can start to train your mind. I just got off the phone with a client, and most of you know I work with lawyers primarily. And as we were talking, I was asking her, where do what is your level of confidence about yourself? And where does the confidence come from? Good evening, user 786. How are you doing today? So where do you get your confidence from? I would like in the chat if you could tell me. Thank you, Hickam. Where do you get your confidence from? Where does your confidence come from? Where do we get our confidence from? Anybody? How do we get our confidence? Anybody? Okay. So when I asked her that, she says, well, I get confidence when someone tells me I'm doing a good job, or people acknowledge that I'm doing a good job, or, when I get it, when people tell me, positive things about myself, I get confidence. And then I said, bah, that's not where we want to get our confidence from. Where do we want to get our confidence from? Tell me. If we don't want to get our confidence from someone else, where are we going to get the confidence from? From your accomplishment? Okay, that's an answer. Ourselves, Anita, you hit it right on the head. If we don't have confidence in ourselves, Yes, Rose, we get confidence from ourselves. We get confidence from within. That's correct, Lisa. Now, I use the example of, let's say, Michael Jordan. Now, before he became Michael Jordan, the superstar, from what I understand, he didn't make a team. I don't know whether it was a high school team or a college team, but he was not Michael Jordan at that time. So, in order for him to become Michael Jordan, what did he have to do? Tell me. What did he have to do to become Michael Jordan? What did he have to do? He was like, okay basketball player. He was okay. I mean, not even so okay because he didn't even make the team. But what did he have to do? Yes, be confident, Rose, and perfect his class, his craft. So which do you think comes first? The confidence or perfecting the craft? This is a trick question. What comes first? Do we perfect our craft or do we become confident first? Yes, Lisa has it right. We have to become confident because if you're not confident, you're not going to do the work to perfect your class. Yes. Confidence has to come first. So confidence has to come from inside. We have to bring the confidence has to come here. And then when we have the confidence, we will do the work to perfect our craft. If we're looking out there to give us confidence, then we'll never do the work. Or if someone says you do badly or someone doesn't like you or whatever, which is going to happen, you're not going to do the work. It takes work. The thing that we were talking about the thoughts yesterday, and we kind of review this again. We have heard that we have about 6,000 thoughts a day. So, it's debated, but pretty much it might be even higher than that, new research. But we have about 6,000 thoughts a day. And do you remember what percentage of those thoughts are negative? Does anybody remember from yesterday when we said we have 6,000 thoughts and what or more, and then what percentage of that is negative? What percentage of our thoughts are negative? Not including the news and social media and films and all the stuff, all the things. So about 80% of our 6,000 thoughts are negative thoughts. So given that, how in the heck are we going to have confidence? How can we have confidence when 80% of our 6,000 thoughts every day are negative? That's the question. That's the question. What can we do to impact 80% of our thoughts are negative? How many of you have just for no reason all of a sudden felt afraid? Afraid of the future, afraid of you're a positive person, Rose? Very good. I'm glad to hear that. But all of us, and I'm a positive person too, but I don't just wake up positive. How many of you, I may be alone here, but how many of you find that in the morning you're not that positive? First thing. The first thing we wake up in the morning, we get a dose of the chemical that jolts us, makes us wake up. But along with that comes thoughts. You can wake up in the morning and I got to get with it. There are some that wakes up like Susie Sunshine or something. But there's a lot of us that have to work on it. We have to work to keep our thoughts positive. Good for you. Because, when I had to do the same thing. I had to do the very same thing because when I would wake up in the morning, if I didn't get right out of bed, I'd lay in bed and then my brain would talk about all the things that could go wrong or all the things that had gone wrong, or things that I should worry about. So before I get out of bed, I like had this whole big thing of thoughts of things I should be worried about or afraid about or problems. And I didn't really like wake up. I don't wake up. And it's a habit. That's you since your husband passed. Okay, adorable cat lady. Yes. Yes, morning affirmations will help. But before I knew that, like, see, I didn't know about the morning affirmations. When I didn't come from a background where I knew about positive affirmations or anything like that. But I would just wake up and I would be worried and I would be afraid and my heart would be beating fast because I was worried about what was happening. And my thoughts went from, oh my God, where's our country heading to? Where's the world heading to? Is the earth going to collide with the sun? Is it going to be a catastrophic thing to the earth? Or am I going to get lose my job? Or how am I going to take care of my kids? Or like all the weight of the world would be in the morning. And I was like, oh my God, once I realized, like, wow. And do you know what? If you wake up in the morning and you have a bad morning, it's very, very difficult to change it later on in the day. So you need to like really, really make it a point to have practices that start your morning in a positive way. Because if you start the morning with worry and anxiety and fear, it just multiplies all throughout the day. So you have to be aware, like, okay, we're in a battle here. Being positive and not allowing fear or anxiety or stress to overcome you is a job, but it's a job that can be well done. It is a job you can accomplish. It just takes thought. You just can't wake up in the morning and just go about your business. You have to say, okay, I've got this thing. I live in a negative world. There's negativity all around me. People are negative. My mind is against me. What am I going to do so that I feel confident? And so that's why people like Michael Jordan stand up, because he was like, he had all that too, but he just said, in my heart, I want basketball and I'm going to do the work. He had to do the work with his mind first before he did the other. When you look at people who do a craft and they do it well, they had to have the confidence in their head before they took the actions in their life. We start with our thoughts. Everything in us begins with our thoughts. Whether we are healthy, whether we have energy, whether we exercise, whether we eat right, whether we feel happy, whether we feel sad. When I was, and I should be embarrassed to tell you this, but when I was like in my 30s and I was raising my two kids, I think I literally had years where I was depressed. Hi, Felicia, how are you? And I didn't know there was I just thought that was just how it was. I didn't realize that I was in charge of my thoughts. I thought, well, you have a thought. Oh, well, so now you got to deal with it. Like I was saying yesterday, Felicia Gray, thank you. I was saying yesterday that we can't be passive bystanders watching our thoughts. We can't. So we're going to do the experiment again. And the experiment yesterday was I was going to count to 3 and I want you to stop thinking. But now I'm going to start to 3 and I want you to tell me what you're thinking about yourself. What are you thinking about yourself? When you think about yourself, what are your automatic thoughts? So 1, and I'm going to participate too. I'll tell you what I'm thinking about myself. Okay. 1, 2, 3. You're going to have 30 seconds of thinking about yourself. What do you think about yourself? Okay. All right. I'll start off. Tell you what I was thinking about myself. Motivated, happy, and peaceful. Okay, that's great, Felicia. I think the thoughts I was thinking about myself was uh, I got a lot to do. I have a lot to do. And I don't know how I'm going to do it all. Um, but I'm going to do it. I think that's what I thought. I was thinking about I have a lot to do. A lot of you know that I just recently did my app and I had a launch, and then I learned all the things that I needed to fix on my app for it to work the way I wanted it to. So I've been working on it since all weekend. My sweetheart, my fiance was very, very understanding that I was like in my computer all weekend fixing my app. Thank you, Felicia. I'm very, very happy about it. My mentor who helped me to do my app had me as a guest speaker at his class because he's telling other people he can help them to do an app for themselves and to build it, because you really build it from nothing through your thoughts. So here's like my thoughts about building that app. I'll tell you my thoughts. So for 30 something years, it was something that something when I first did it, I was like so excited that it helped so many people. And people told me that that it could help them. And I was so excited. And then as years went on, because we're talking about 30 years ago, I was like, oh, well, maybe it's not so great, or, I guess it's okay. It helps people a little bit. And I lost my confidence about it. And something stirred in me. And then I started thinking, oh, my original thoughts were I want to help as many people as possible with what I do. How many of you, when we talked about what I talked about yesterday, about our thoughts and about how when we were babies and how we created survival skills and how those survival skills are still ruling our lives today, how many of you found value in that conversation if you were here yesterday? Because that is my work. I could talk about that all day. It's so, because when people find that out, their lives change. And that's what I get excited about. So, you know, we all want to find, it's good to say affirmations. It's good to do positive things, but you have to find a dream. If you can, like what I have like a scene that's a positive scene. I won't tell you what the scene is, but I have a scene that's my dream. And if I'm in a situation that I that's not a good situation, I can flip my mind to my dream. If we have a dream, we have to have something. We have to have something to have hope. Hope is the fire that ignites positivity. If we don't have hope, we're just kind of moving around going through the motions. And I can't tell you what your hope is. Oh, thank you, Anita. I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you saying that, but we all have to have hope. We all have to have hope. And when we have hope, we wake up in the morning with hope. Like just like since I've done my app, I like was waking up and I wrote the book. I was exciting. I was excited about that. Yes, I'm glad you're realizing that. If we have to just make the destination, whatever that hope is for you, whatever that hope is, you know, and then you wake up in the morning and you have hope because this world wants to snuff out your hope. People like, what are you so happy about? What are you so excited about? I have a dream. It's just like when Martin Luther King said, I have a dream. Like when we have a dream, whatever that dream is for us, that's why I showed you my vision board. Have any of you gone to chat to try to make a vision board yet? Because that kind of, you like look at that and just makes you so happy. When I look at my vision board, with me, Greg, and traveling and the life that I want and the impact that I want and with my children and all that, it makes my heart happy. You want something in your life that makes your heart happy when you think about it. So when you could like channel your thoughts, you could channel your thoughts in an instant from, I don't want to, of thinking negatively, and I want to channel my thoughts towards my dream. And that's what I do. Like I channel my thoughts to my dream. And Greg and I, like this evening, we're going to talk about details about our trip to Portugal. And you all know that that's a dream and that's a miracle. And Greg is going to Portugal. But he brought it up himself. I didn't even have to it's like, okay, let's plan our trip to Portugal. So that was a dream, and it's my dream. Like I've been to Portugal twice. The first time I was didn't work out very well. I went to Portugal. I loved it. But I was with someone that ended up dying and the whole thing. Second time I went to Portugal, I went by myself and I had a wonderful time. It was beautiful, wonderful. I loved it. And the only thing I would think of is like, wow, if I was at Portugal with someone I love, that would be wonderful because it's mostly like couples and all that. And I was there and I had a great time. And I met people and I did a 6K in Portugal. I went on excursions. We went on excursions and I love it because in the Algarve, it's like the international playground for expats. So there's tons of people from London and France and Italy. So we went on like a boat excursion. And there were like 8 countries on the excursion. Germany, France, America, the US, there weren't that many from the US, Portugal, Spain, and I love that. Ever since I was young, I thought the world is a big place. I want to enjoy the world internationally. I always wanted to go internationally. And I did. And I was old I was in my 40s before I started traveling internationally. But I always had that dream in my heart that one day I would go to be international. Like one day, my aunt was a French teacher. She taught French. And I took 3 years of French. I can't speak it. I have to tell you, it's funny. I went to my friend. I had a friend. She's an attorney. She lives in LA. And I went to France and she was there. We went to France together. She was already there. And I went over and spent time in Provence. And then we went to Paris together. And she she spoke French a lot better. And I spoke French. I actually took a class before going there. I had a tutor teach me French so that I could go there and speak French. But I couldn't. I have the worst pronunciation. My friend said, let me do all the talking. But when I was by myself, in France, they want you to respect their country because, a lot of times us Americans, we go someplace and say, well, you're supposed to speak English. And people like in Spain and France, like, hey, you're in our country, speak our language. So anyway, I was in Paris, and I would get, like I'd lose my directions or what, I'd have to stop, and I would try to say what I need to say in French, and you can see the person like laugh, like laughing at how badly I spoke French. But they would help me, and then they would speak English, like help me, but they were glad that I was respectful of their language. But anyway, that's a long story. But that was like a dream that I had. I had a dream that I would go travel to Paris, and I've been there a few times, in different parts of Europe. And yeah, and I met somebody the other day, and they invited me to come to Germany. But anyway, I've never like been traveled with someone that I love, like my honey, you know what I mean? So this will be my first trip, like to actually be a couple, and do things together as a couple. I proved that I could travel by myself and have a great time. I met friends. I actually dated when I was over there, but now I'll go over with my fiance and we will enjoy Portugal. But what I'm just saying is that you got to find a dream. You have to find something that makes your heart happy. And, little by little, you can like reach for your dream. And that can keep you positive. Keep you positive and keep away the negativity. Because unfortunately, our bodies and our brains aren't wired to be positive. And and I have to tell you, I sometimes also battle with that. There are things from my invisible rule back here that make me, have thoughts that I don't want to have. You know what I mean? And I like literally have to like sit on my hands to not have these negative thoughts. It's like do not have those thoughts, because these thoughts aren't going to make you happy. So here's what I want to say. If you have a thought and the thought makes you unhappy, why are you thinking that thought? That's a question. If you have a thought and the thought makes you unhappy, and it could be about anything, it could be about yourself, it could be about your finances, it could be about your job, it could be about your children, it could be about your partner, it could be without not having a partner. If you have a thought and that thought does not make you feel good, tell me, why are you having that thought? And don't tell me you can't help it. So if you are having a bad thought and the thought makes you feel badly, why are you having that thought? Some people, like, they worry all the time, and they're like, worry, worry, worry. Well, I gotta worry. Well, what is worrying doing? Does it make anything better? Does worrying make things better? No. They say that worrying is thinking about something over and over again that may or may not happen. Most of the things we worry about don't even happen. Yeah, of course, Lisa. So we sit there and we have these thoughts that make us feel badly. And then it's like we're like at a movie. We get some popcorn and sit there and think about these thoughts that make us feel badly. But worry does nothing. Like, I remember, I have a story about worry. So I had a brother. My brother was 3 years younger than me, and he was addicted to hard, you know what. And I was just worried. I just worried about, oh my God, I'm going to get a call and they're going to tell me he's gone, and on and on, and worry and worry and worry and worry and worry. And then one day I heard someone say, instead of being worried about this, why don't you use that energy to pray for them? What? Uh, uh, uh. So if you don't want to pray, I mean, why not think good thoughts about them? Change the thoughts. We can change our thoughts like we're changing a channel. We just have to train our brain. So I decided to try that. I said, okay, well, let me do this. Let me pray for my brother instead of being worried about, oh my God, this is going to happen. So I was, going about my business, and whenever a worry would come, I would change it to a prayer. So one day I was at my office, and this is a true story. I was at my office at work. I was working in a building, in a high-rise building, and I had a thought about my brother. And the thought was, call your brother and tell him, he was in Chicago, I was in Florida. Call your brother and tell your brother that if he comes to Florida, you can find a place for him to get sober. And I was like, what? Because 2 months earlier, my brother had needed some money. He was in the trucking business, and his truck he had tickets or whatever. And I had convinced my father and my brother to gather this money together to help my brother. And my brother used it on, you know what, instead of getting his thing. So, and then he lied to me. So then I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to help you again. So for me to be in my office and have this thought, call your brother, I'm like, I'm not calling my brother. I'm mad at him. So I go back to work the next day. And the next day, the thought comes again. It's like a voice in my head says, call your brother and tell your brother that he can get sober in Florida. I'm like, what? I'm not calling him. It was crazy. I don't want to have that thought. The third day, I'm sitting in my office. It's like in the afternoon, as plain as day. And just like I'm talking to you, the voice said, call your brother and tell him he can get sober here in Florida. And I was like, okay, okay. So I get on the phone and I call my brother. And I said, if you ever want to get sober, I know a place here in Florida you can get sober. And he said, okay, I'm ready. I'm like, what? And so I was like, I didn't even know a place. I was just doing what it told me to do. So I said, oh, well, okay, I got to find out, So I called this woman who I knew about these recovery places, and we played phone tag. And so 2 weeks went by, and I didn't know the place. So my brother called me again. He said, and he used DRU, what else, for 30 years. And he used what rhymes with hair. With hair. That's what he was using for 30 years. So for him to say he wanted to come, where's the place? I was like, oh my God, he means it. He really wants to come. So anyway, I got it. It was lunch at my work. I went for the lunch, and I went to this place I knew. And I went there and I said, this is what I said to the people. I said, my brother, he's in Chicago and he's ready to get sober. But if he doesn't get help, he's going to DIE. And the people looked at me and they were like, what? And so anyway, long story short, they said, well, this is Florida. This is for people in Florida, not from Chicago. But I said, but he's going to die. So they said, well, okay, to have him write a letter. And if we think his letter is sincere, we'll send for him. And so I went back to my brother and I said, here, they said, write a letter. And he wrote a letter. And long story short is that he wrote the letter. I sent for him. He came here and he got sober after using something that rhymes with hair for 30 years. And he was sober for 13 years until he died. He passed away a few years ago. He's my younger brother. So you see, when I stopped worrying, something else happened, right? When we worry, we don't make anything better. If you want love in your life, worrying about, I'll never meet anybody will only perpetuate or keep that happening. If you want to be more successful financially, if you worry and think about that, that will keep happening. If you worry about your health, we'll keep that happening. Our thoughts are our thoughts are like pathways that we follow. Our thoughts lead us down a path. When Michael Jordan wanted to be the best basketball player, or LeBron James, their thoughts took them down a path. And the path makes us take actions that lead to what we want. When I decided that I wanted to have love in my life after being by myself for 20 years, my thoughts made me take a path. And I took the path. Are these paths easy? Answer. Hi, Tara. Welcome. How are you feeling today? Let me ask you, when you have the path towards a dream, is it easy? Yes or no? When you're on a path towards your dream, is it easy? No, it's not easy. You're right, Lisa. It's never easy. Never easy. Hi, this is No Life for a Princess. No, it's never easy. Okay, what the surgeons say, it's never easy. When we have a dream, you know what the first thing that happens? Is all the reasons you can't have the dream. When you have a dream, the first thing that shows up is you can't have the dream. Like, for example, if you say, boy, I really want to travel the world, the first thing happens is you don't have any money. You can't get any time off work. So the first thing that shows up is the no. Like, do you really mean it? It's like the world, the universe says, do you really mean it? Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Tara. So glad to hear that you're doing better. I don't know about my foot. They just don't know what's wrong with my foot. I don't know what we're going to do with my foot. But I'm having good thoughts about my foot. I'm not going to worry about my foot. I'm like, okay. They suggested that I go to my primary physician to see if there's some underlying reason that my foot keeps swelling. And now, we're going to be going to Portugal in a few months. Not many months. We would be going to Portugal the end of September. The third week of September is what we're talking about. So whenever it is, or was it easy? You think it was just kind of easy for Michael Jordan? No. Sometimes I think about Beyonce. Beyonce has a work ethic that is off the charts. I don't know if any of you have seen her documentaries about how she rehearses and how she, and her team, how she gets her backup dancers. She doesn't just get up there and sing. She gets a whole dance routine, a whole thing. She can't do as much as she used to when she was younger. It is. But her dream Like she'll dream like a concert or a tour, and then she works towards it. Her thoughts, when she gets up in the morning, what do you think her thoughts are? Her thoughts about what is she going to do next? What is she going to do to make this dream come true? We can do that in our lives. We can have dreams. Why not? Why not have dreams? Why not reclaim our thinking? We have a choice. You're going to be thinking. We already proved that you cannot stop thinking. We did the experiment. We counted to 3 and you're going to stop thinking, and no one can stop thinking because we can't. So you're going to think. So the question is, am I going to be in charge of my thinking, or am I going to let my thinking be in charge of me? Yes, Beyonce is an example of someone who works her ethic. She lives her dream. We too can live our dream. Now, it's very interesting, that when I was 75, I stopped dreaming. It does. And we have to get up and we have to dust ourselves off and say, I'm not going to be defeated. Because to not have a dream is like moving around in your body with no hope. Do you know how horrible it is not having hope? When you don't have hope, you're just like in your body, like a sack of bones, moving around from one destination to another. No life, no enthusiasm, no hope, just going through the motions. So each of us, it's our job to find that dream, whatever that is. And it doesn't have to be big. It could be healthy. I want to be more healthy. I want to find love. I want to love myself. I want to go to a special restaurant. I want to go on a vacation. I want to take a week off of work. I remember, I'll tell you something. I remember when I first learned that I could dream. So here I was, like I said, in my 30s, I was depressed. I was put upon because, I was a single parent. I didn't think I was going to be a single parent, and my ex-husband wasn't taking care of our children, and it was my responsibility. And I was going through life, going through the motions, angry that this had happened to me because this wasn't supposed to be my life. But guess what? It was my life. So either I was going to be happy about my life or I was going to be upset about my life. That's the difference. So during those years, too long, I decided I was going to be unhappy about my life, that I had no hope. I was a single mother and I had to work all these jobs, blah, 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 blah. So I was like wallowing in my self-pity. It's a terrible place to be. And I did it for years. But I remember I started getting hope. And I remember I started having hope. In little ways, I started to have hope. So one of the things I did was I bought myself a bike. I bought myself a bike. My kids were so used to me being a victim. My daughter says, how dare you buy a bike? Because every penny was supposed to go to them. And I remember there was this shop. It was near Marina Del Rey. And they had, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the brand. But, like I said, I was like always feeling sorry for myself. So they had this really expensive purse, and it had a little case that you carry, like kind of a little briefcase, but it didn't have handles. It was kind of like a fold, whatever it was. And I looked in the store and I was like, oh, that's so pretty. I wish I could have something like that. And back then they would do layaway. How many of you remember layaway? Yeah, it's kind of like a clutch briefcase kind of thing. How many of you remember layaways? It's a long time ago. Remember we used to do layaway? So this was this beautiful bag. Here I am. I'm the victim. I'm the mother, and life is hard. And so I looked in the window, and I looked in the window, and I finally got the nerve. Like, this was a store that I didn't even think I could go into. They still do have layaways. I haven't been around it, so I haven't seen layaways. But this is a store that it was so expensive, I didn't think I could go in. So I got the nerve to go in. Oh, Walmart has layaways. Oh, I didn't know that. Anyway, this expensive store, I got the nerve, like, who could someone like me go into the store? And I asked if I could see the purse and the bag and the clutch or whatever it was. And they showed it to me. And I was like, oh, I just love it. And then she says, we have layaways. And I was like layaways? You mean I can put it on layaway? So I put this purse and this bag, this clutch briefcase on layaway. And I paid on it. And I paid on it. And I paid on it. And I got it out. And then the next thing I did was I wanted to get some business suits because I was working, because at that time I wasn't in management. So I said, I'm going to dress like someone who's in management, although I'm not in management right now. So I got this purse and this clutch, this briefcase. And then I went and got, I don't know how I got these suits. I don't know if somebody bought them for me, whatever. But they used to make these suits. They were called Paul Stanley suits. Did anybody ever buy anything from Paul Stanley? Anybody ever heard of Paul Stanley? This was back then. Anyway, Paul Stanley made these kind of expensive. They were expensive to me. Back then they were like $300. I mean, they were like these business suits. So anyway, I got these Paul Stanley suits. And then I did have a boyfriend at the time, and I did get this kind of wine red, really briefcase. And I had an Audi car. I mean, and I think I was a secretary. I was a secretary, but I had this Audi car, and I had this purse that I had gotten, and I got these Paul Stanley suits. I was doing temp work at that time. That's what I was doing. I was doing temp work, and I was trying to get a job in management. And I drove to work in my Paul Stanley suits with my briefcase and my expensive purse to go be a secretary until the doors opened. And I got the job that matched who I was being. Yes, Tara. So it was like my thoughts. See, this is what a dream does. Now, I didn't have it when I got the purse or the suits or any of that, but I wore it and acted as if, and my thoughts followed my vision in my dream. So we cannot ever minimize how important our thoughts are for our positive opportunities in life. It all begins between our ears, always. And that's why the work I've been doing for 30 years, which is Invisible Rule, is the beginning of you getting control of those thoughts. That's the purpose of it. The purpose is for you to recognize what those thoughts are so that you can be in charge of your thoughts. So this is what I want each of you to do today. I want you, if you've not made time to do a vision board, I want you to think of a dream. First, you have to have a dream because you can't make a vision board if you don't have a dream. So your dream could be love. It could be a trip. It's just like I wanted to go to Portugal. And and Greg said, "Oh, I don't really like to travel, whatever." But I don't know. He just says, "We're going to go to Portugal." So now we're going to Portugal. That was my dream. But my dream was that he and I will travel all over the world. But this is the beginning. Well, my dream was for him to even appear. That was the beginning. And I was kissed a lot of frogs before I found him. And then I had a really uphill battle. You all saw me how hard it was for me to accept that and to have that in my life. Because I was so used to the other that I turned this into the negative thoughts, right? I had the negative thoughts, and guess what? I brought it to the relationship. But thankfully, I was able. And thank you, Anita. So we have the invisible rule here. I don't really have, there's no one in the audience. I'll just put it in the Facebook, in the LinkedIn Live. But click there, because that's where you start. That's where you start. This week, we've had 22 people go through the first part of the invisible rule. 25 people this week. Join us. Join the invisible rule. Find out about your thoughts. What are the thoughts that are hidden to you that keep you stuck? Because you want to have a dream. But if you have a dream and you have a thought that's kind of sabotaging your dream, like I did and have done, you won't get your dream. But you deserve your dream. You deserve whatever you want. So I want you to get a dream, write down what the dream is, no matter how far-fetched it is. Like it could be like a snowball in hell. It's like my client. It's just like, I'm the first person to go to college in my house, my family. I'm the first one to go to law school. I'm the first one to get master's. Then I'm in an abusive job. And now I've got a job where I just have the best opportunity. This is since she and I have been working together. We all can have a dream. And when you have your dream, take your dream and then you go to ChatGPT and then you write down, I want a vision board with my dream. And you say, I want to have love. I want to travel. I want a boat. I want a car, whatever it is. I want this car, whatever it is. And then put pictures, upload pictures of what you want, like upload your picture, because it will make your picture. It will make you in the picture. Like I have pictures of me and Greg. We look a lot younger, but you can have your vision board and then you get to look at it every day and think about that instead of your negative. Like Michael Jordan thought about being the best basketball player ever. Beyonce thought about having the best concerts and being who she is and being a person in the world. We can have our dreams, and that will really crush your negative thinking. So thank you all for being here with me today. As you know, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm here. So this is Wednesday. So this is our Friday. I will see you next Monday. I will not be here Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. I will be with my honey. He's in the front now. And we're going to be talking about Portugal when I get off of here. And I appreciate you all for being here. Remember, I come at 7 p.m. on Eastern Time on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Anita, for being a wonderful moderator. And you enjoy your week too, the rest of your week. And I will see you all next week. Love you all. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, I am signing off. Remember your dream and don't forget it. And don't be stuck with worry, anxiety, and stress, because you deserve to have peace and happiness. And I'm here for it for you. And you can click below and you can get your copy of the Invisible Rule absolutely free to find your road to happiness and peace.